I love this panel. I'm very excited about it. First, on the end, Mati Shoshani is with TBN and Sorrel Media. You've probably seen him on Boots on the Ground, doing all kinds of TBN programming, helping arrange a lot of it, but also has his own program along with Yair Pinto. They've become well-known around the world among Christians during the last 2.5 years of war. And Mati is a great spokesman and explainer of Israel. His brother is actually English IDF press officer, spokesman was. He just finished. Good for him. Is he taking a break? All right, you got your mic there. Okay. And so great to have you, Monty. We have Calev Myers, who is a distinguished attorney with a prominent law firm, Yehuda Raveh, here in Israel, in Jerusalem. They're really known for real estate, but Calev has taken them into all sorts of advocacy for human rights. He started the Jerusalem Institute for Justice. He's a rainmaker. He's spinning off this and that. He's been involved with Arise, business matchmaking between Christian businessmen and Israel, so many other things. He's represented all the Christian organizations that are involved here. He's argued cases before the Supreme Court, dozens of them, and we're so honored that he's our attorney and he's representing so many Christians, Messianics, other here in the land, and he has a wealth of experience on the civil rights, the democratic rights that we're going to talk about now, minority rights, and of course we've met Shadi. Okay, gentlemen. I'll start with Calev. If you can tell us, Israel is a Jewish and a democratic state. Is that like an oxymoron, or how does that play out in practical terms here from your experience as an attorney, and where is Israel in trying to balance those two interests?
Well, thank you, first of all, for starting with a very simple question. I say that it's absolutely possible to be a Jewish and democratic state. It's like saying that a tree is both tall and green. They're two different things. Tall would be a measurement of height, and green a description of color. Israel is a democracy as our form of government, and it is Jewish as our form of national culture. These are two different things. Now, we do have people on the far right that would like Judaism to be our government, and we have people on the far left that would like democracy to be our religion. But 80 or 85% of Israelis in the middle see this as a balanced Jewish democratic state. And I'll also say that Brother Ali mentioned earlier the roots, what he called the Anglo-American tradition of democracy, freedom of religion, and those rights. That was all based on Hebrew Jewish thought. So there actually isn't a contradiction between being a Jewish democratic state. Let me just take us for a minute to Deuteronomy 17, starting around verse 16, where it talks about when you go into the land, you shall appoint for yourself a king. And it doesn't so much say what the king will do, but it says what he won't do. He won't have many horses, limitation of military powers. He won't have many wives, limitation of diplomatic powers, because they used to make peace between kingdoms by intermarriage. You won't amass much gold and silver, limited economic powers. So you already had a government with limited powers. And then it said you would sit and write the words of this law in a ceremony before a priest, which means that you cannot be both a king and a priest. Limited powers, separation of religion and state. These are the exact scriptures that the founding fathers of the United States looked at when they built what I think today has been the most successful democratic system, which protects freedom of religion and freedom of worship and freedom of conscience. And those are the same values that this nation is based upon. So it is absolutely possible to be both a Jewish and democratic state.
Okay. Yeah, I was I was at Runnymede out near Windsor Castle, west of London, and this is where they signed the Magna Carta, and everyone thinks this was sort of the beginning of Western democracy, but it started in the Sinai Desert. It's quite amazing. Mati, give us an overview of the minority communities in Israel. And the Jewish majority, do they care about them? Do they give them space? How are they doing as far as their standards of living, education, all compared to some of the Jewish majority?
We're continuing with the difficult questions, I can see. So I'll start from the end. Israel isn't perfect. And I want to say this, people that advocate or criticize Israel have this notion of everything's supposed to be jolly and perfect. We're not a perfect country. We don't treat the minorities with perfection, and many people don't try to, but we do attempt to do things right. We do attempt to do things the legal way. We do argue about the legal way and the right way to do things. We are a country that is not just Jewish. I mean, a large percentage of the citizens in the country are Jewish, but we have Christians within the country of many different flavors and colors. Many of them disagree with each other, more than you can imagine. We have Muslims of different flavors and colors. Even in Judaism, we have a ton of sects, different types of Orthodox, different types of secular. I myself am a Messianic Jew, and even Messianic Jews disagree amongst themselves. And in that, the country...
No.
Even more than everyone else. But to the point is that the country lives within this tension. And just to give you an example, we're all, our favorite national pastime right now is serving in reserves. I command a unit in Judea and Samaria, and my soldiers are Orthodox or ultra-Orthodox and a handful of secular soldiers. And that's how the army is. Shadi served in the army, Calev served in the army. The army is full of a mixture of people. It's not only the Jews that are fighting, it's also all the minorities that are working together within this country. Our power isn't in the fact that we're a homogenous nation. We're not. We are one of the most mixed nations in the world. The Jews themselves are Arabs and Ashkenazi, which is European. I myself am a mixture. My kids are even more of a mixture. That's our strength. It's not our weakness. And the country works between secular Israelis, Orthodox Israelis, God-fearing Israelis, and those who doubt that God exists Israelis. All of them work together, and somehow it all works to God's plan. And I think that's an important thing to note. On a government level, and I'm not a spokesperson for the government, I want to say our government attempts to do the right thing. And it's complicated to do that. There is a crazy amount of tension between the agendas and the desires of different populations. Some of them want to do things and some of them are against it. And they try to work all of that together. If you follow the news internally in Israel, there isn't a week without social tensions internally. And usually there isn't a day without social tensions internally. Right now, the government's fighting about how the Orthodox fit into the country. And yet we are a nation that works together. And I'd say this from a macro perspective, beats the odds. Beats the odds every day of the week. Every other nation around the world wishes they had the macroeconomics and the statistics that we do, even though that we are so diverse, even though we are such a mixture, even though we are such a melting pot. What breaks most countries, what causes riots in most countries, is the power of this nation. The fact that we're able to cooperate, Christians and Jews and Muslims in the army and in many institutes in the country, is one of our biggest powers. Doesn't mean we're perfect, but it's a huge power in this country, and I think a testament to the values of the basis of Israel.
Thank you. Shadi, I'm going to take you back, take you back to your days in the IDF. I hope those days are all behind you now and you can rest and not have to worry about getting called. You get called up? Oh, my goodness. But what was it like for you? You were in charge, you were an officer in the paratrooper, that's the 55th that took the old city of Jerusalem in 67. That's a very legendary unit here. And you were an officer, commanding officer in it. What was it like for Jewish soldiers, privates and sergeants and all, to take orders? Were they know who you were? Was it tension? And how has it benefited you in Israeli society that you can go to the prime minister and say, I served, and it really makes a difference with him?
Yes, well, it's a good question. I was 19 and a half when I became an officer. And I led, usually that's when you, like after 1.5 years, you are going to course of officers. And I led a Jewish unit, like most of them were Jews. I was the only Christian officer. And they received orders from me in Lebanon, in Judea and Samaria, in other parts. And Jewish mothers and fathers knew that I was a Christian leading their children, and they trusted that I am giving the right orders and taking care of their children as a Christian. So it's people like think, oh, a Christian in the army. Yes, that's Israel. Israel trusted me as a Christian to lead Jewish youth, 18 years old, and take them to risky places and leading them in these risky battles that we fought together. Now, another thing that you mentioned is opening doors. The IDF is a melting pot of the Israeli society. Through the IDF, you can meet many different people from different backgrounds, from Jewish religious Zionists to secular Jews, to Messianic Jews, to Christians, to Muslims, to Druze, and we are all fighting under the flag of Israel for one purpose, to keep Israel safe and secure for all the citizens of this country. And as an officer, I opened my doors through and with the help of my service in the IDF. For example, when I achieved the Aramaic recognition, one of the main guys of Gideon Sa'ar, that was Interior Minister, he served with me as an officer in Lebanon back then, in the IDF. And I knocked his door. I told him, hey, Iran, his name. I told him, Iran, Matai Hassar, when you going to talk with your minister to give me one meeting? I want only one meeting to speak and explain for him what is this Aramaic identity and why it's important for you as a Jewish, for you as Israeli state, and for us as a people. And I got it. And I had like all the legal advisors, 1 hour meeting. I saw Gideon Sa'ar with tears in his eyes at the end of this meeting because I showed him that genocide we faced as the Jewish people faced Shoah. We faced a genocide from those Islamic people that were guided by the way, German officers 30 years before the Shoah. And Gideon Sa'ar said, okay, stop. Go home, we will give you answer. I was in my way in Road 6, and I got the call from his Druze assistant. The Druze assistant said, you got the approval, the minister will recognize your people.
Wonderful. And the Druze
So the
have their own
IDF was the
recognition.
opening doors for me, and afterward, with Benjamin Netanyahu, the same thing. And now, when I'm doing this Aramaic town, also the same process. They ask me, what's your background? I told them my background. This allows them to trust you, that you are doing things from love and not by deceiving them. That's important, my friends. We need a mutual respect and mutual recognition of each other's, and it should be built on a trust and not because many people can tell you something, but they, in their hearts, mean something else. And that's important. That's what the IDF give Christians in this country.
I want to give equal billing to each of you, but I want to stick with Shadi and ask about the Christian minority here, or the Aramaean, because you've distinguished yourselves from the Arab community through these efforts. What is your relationship with the Muslim in the Galilee and in the nation? They don't serve in the army. There's radical Islam among them. There's a lot of crime and a lot of murder right now. And what is it like for the Christians there in the Galilee?
Tell you, it's a very, very deep question. It's the Christian reality in the Galilee is not really brighting, not because of the Jews, because every Christian that live in a mixed Muslim town is suffering from the crime that Muslims are, not all of them, Muslim gangs that are actually behaving this way, threatening their communities, and Christians are the weakest community because the Muslims come with what we call tribal background. Christians come from small families. It's easy to catch small family members, threaten them, and without backup of a big family, so Christians decide to leave Nazareth, want to migrate, and guess where they migrate or leave? And decide to go to Jewish majority towns. So if we were like so apartheid country, a Jewish apartheid country, why we choose to go and live among Jews instead of staying in Nazareth or in Arab mixed towns? To just prove to those liars and Jewish hatred and anti-Semites in this world that all their propaganda fall in this one example. We ask many Christians, 99% said to us, we prefer to stay under Israel and not living in our homes under any Arab regime. And more than this, we as a Christian in Galilee, I give you an example. When I was the first candidate for the parliament in the Jewish Zionist Party, and I succeeded to be number 11 in the list of Lieberman back then. He was right-wing still, like in the right side. And they throw a grenade in my home. Why? Because I am a Christian and I'm leading the Christian community in a different direction. Not only Aramaic Christians, all Christians, Arab Christians you call them, Christian Aramaic, Christian Maronite, Christian Protestant. I speak for all Christian denominations. I was working among them to connect them to the state of Israel and be a model for them of success. That's what led me to go to the parliament back then and be a candidate. And they throw a grenade. When we got the Aramaic recognition and the permit to teach Aramaic, they were attacking and threatening us and everyone who sided with a process of integration to the IDF. They follow soldiers, Christian soldiers, just for serving their own country to keep it safe for all of them, include them. So that's the reality. We need to empower our Christian community, and that's what I'm doing, and that's my duty. And the Jewish people understand that now better. At that time, it was harder. Now there's more awareness because they face the same threat like we are facing now. And October 7, unfortunately, it was an eye-opening also for them.
Okay, Caleb, many charge Israel with being an apartheid state. We know some of it is in relation to the treatment of the Palestinians, but you also have, Tucker Carlson going on TV and saying, oh, Muslims treat the Christians and everyone great here in Saudi Arabia, but they're treated horribly in Israel. What's the experience? And even, especially in dealing with the law, is there equality under the law for the Arab and other minorities?
First of all, I want to say that there is a terrible apartheid against Palestinians in the Middle East. And it is in every single country except for Israel. The Palestinians that left Israel in 1948 and 1967 and went into Lebanon and went into Syria and went into Jordan and went into Egypt, they, until today, are devoid of any rights. They cannot vote. They cannot hold public office. They're denied from 73 job categories. They cannot own land. They cannot purchase land. They cannot inherit land. They're treated less than human beings. And if you're aware of what Goebbels did to us in World War II during the Holocaust, his whole system was called, it's been coined accusations in a mirror. So exactly what's happening to Palestinians everywhere else in the Middle East is what they're blaming Israel for. Where here, the Palestinians that were integrated as citizens into Israel and came back after 48 and 67 have completely equal rights. They serve in our Knesset. They sit on our Supreme Court. We had an Arab Christian judge that sent Israel's Jewish president to prison for criminal acts. We are the farthest thing possible from an apartheid. And the truth of the matter is that an apartheid is taking place everywhere else in the Middle East. That's what we need to talk about. Going back to what Ali said, we should be going on the defense, not the offense, not the defense. We shouldn't even have to be explaining about Israel. We should be talking about the way that people are treated terribly around us. You mentioned Tucker Carlson. He came out with an interview recently. I don't know how many of you saw it. He interviewed a Jordanian Christian that talked about how wonderful it is to be a Christian in Jordan. The one thing Tucker didn't ask him is what happens to Muslims who convert to Christianity in Jordan, because I have friends like that. And what happens to them is what's referred to as civil death, which means if you convert from Islam to Christianity in Jordan, they can take away your wife, they can take away your home, they can take away your job. You will be absolutely devoid of any civil rights whatsoever. And that's in one of the most moderate Sunni Muslim neighbors in our neighborhood. And in Israel, you can convert from Christianity to Judaism to Islam. There's absolutely no punishment whatsoever. We have complete freedom of religion, and so there's so many of obviously Tucker Carlson is a master gaslighter, which is very, very frustrating. But that's the truth of the matter. There is no apartheid. Do we have challenges like Mati said? Yes. And let me say this. I've done, like you said, a lot of work in civil rights. And I've advocated for the civil rights and human rights of both Jews and Palestinians. And the difference is within the Israeli jurisprudence system, we have a real separation of powers. We have an independent judicial system. I've handled, I'd say, upwards of 2,000 civil rights cases, and we've won 99% of them because we have a court that upholds, this is on behalf of Christian minorities within Israel, we have a court that upholds laws, that upholds the rule of law, and even forces, this is the essence of the rule of law, is forcing it upon our leaders and those who hold powers. With the Palestinians that live in the territories, even in the Palestinian Authority, there is no separation of powers. All the judges in the West Bank are appointed by Fatah and the PLO, which is a type of a terrorist organization. And in Gaza, they're appointed by Hamas. And we've represented families that, a Christian family from Bethlehem, that Muslims came in and expropriated their property by force. It went to a court, and the PLO judge awarded the people who took away the property, the Muslims who took away the property, and gave them those rights. And the only recourse we have is to try to go to international governments that fund the Palestinian Authority and say, could you please precondition your funding upon demanding human rights reforms? Unfortunately, people who are willing to do that are very few and far between, but there's absolutely no difference between, there's no comparison, it's completely different between the Israeli system and the system of all of our neighbors, including the Palestinian Authority.
I want to give Mati time.
No,
here.
just to empower his word,
Yes.
we won a Supreme Court case against the municipality in our town, which is an Arab municipality, that didn't want us to let our kids to learn in a Jewish school that accepted our children. The Arab municipality didn't want us to learn in a Jewish school, and we went to Supreme Court, and the Supreme Court ruled for our favor to learn wherever we want. And that's to show you who are the racist and who are the liberal people.
Calev, as an attorney, that's a good piece of lawyering. Mati, we'll let you answer the other big hot question today, Israel's relation with the Palestinians, which especially in Gaza's case, it's been a horrible, horrible time of late. But is Israel committing genocide, or is what the IDF doing there an example of an army fighting a war in a moral way?
So the simple answer is no, there is no genocide. based on any type of criteria. And I'll break it down. But first, before I do that, I want to acknowledge the elephant in the room. People confuse personal suffering with national justice. And the sentiment, if you are a person of faith or a person with a conscience in your mind and your heart, you should feel two things when you look at the things that happen in Gaza or anywhere else in war. Every suffering child, every suffering mother, every family that lost someone, you need to feel a pang of pain in your heart towards that person suffering. That doesn't negate the conversation on the national justice. And that's where a lot of people get lost. Well, look at this person suffering. Yes, I feel empathy for them. I feel pain for them. That doesn't change the national conversation. Here's what the Army does. I know I've spent over 500 days in reserves in the last 2.5 years. And before that, many, many years in reserves. The IDF upholds the international law. I know this because they investigate every soldier that has even claimed that they violated. Every time a journalist calls, every time an NGO calls, every time a Palestinian calls a phone number, and there are many such phone numbers in the IDF, that soldier is questioned usually within 24 hours. People need to know this. Is questioned and punished, by the way, if they violate the law. This doesn't exist in other armies. The IDF, and I have, again, my younger brother just spent over a decade working with the IDF. The IDF investigates every one of these claims on a regular basis. But let's address the question at hand. The question at hand is the question of genocide. Genocide is the systematic attempt to annihilate. That's what it is. And if that would be the question, Israel is the worst. We are the lousiest, the most ineffective agency or country in human history to try and annihilate another people, because the Palestinian population in Gaza grew during this war instead of decreasing during the war. How is that possible during a genocide? The Palestinian population in Judea and Samaria, not Israeli Arabs, Palestinians, their population continues to grow. Their GDP, by the way, even though their leaders are corrupt beyond belief, even despite that, they still continue to succeed. So you look at those statements of apartheid, of genocide, of systemic whatever it is, it just doesn't add up to the reality that we face. And I need to say this from another perspective. Ali said this correctly. You have to go to the source of why these claims are being made. And there's two sources here. One, people automatically hate Israel. They're anti-Semitic, and we don't need to be ashamed to say that. It's diabolical. It comes from the devil. It's something that they can't control. It's almost an automatic Pavlovian response in them. Someone says Israel, they bark out whatever it is, some kind of hatred, speech that comes out from that. But there's more to it. They also want to hide their actions. Like Calev said, they're evil. They are vile. They murder. They commit genocide. You think about the countries that are accusing Israel of committing crimes. They are the biggest criminals of human rights. Iran has seats on civil rights organizations within the UN. Iran of all countries. African countries, Asian countries, countries that disappear their population are the ones that are criticizing Israel. And Israel should be criticized and should be upheld to the highest level of critique, and we do that to ourselves. But a lot of these other countries use this as a tool against Israel. Now, I want to say this about what's happening in Gaza. We're fighting what is called asymmetrical warfare. Asymmetrical warfare means we're an organized army. We fight by the rules. We're fighting against people that violate all the rules, not part, all the rules. How do they do that? Instead of using uniforms, they dress in civilian clothing. They run in civilian clothing, pick up a rifle, fire shots, throw down the rifle. Are they combatant or non-combatant? This is how Hamas fights. This is how Hezbollah fights. This is how the grassroots, quote-unquote, terrorism within Judea and Samaria fights. They use civilians as a shield. They intentionally send out children to test the IDF soldiers. This is the practice. These are the practices that they use. And I want to tell you some numbers. In this last 2.5-year period, I've been in uniform, but more as a journalist, in every front that Israel has fought. Syria, Lebanon, Judea and Samaria, and all the big cities in Gaza. You don't understand. When people say they use humans or civilians and non-combatants as shields, you need to understand the numbers. I was just in Lebanon a few weeks ago. You go into a village. It's over 50% of the homes have Hezbollah infrastructure in them. This is not a 20-family village. This is a 5,000-family village. More than 50% of the homes have Hezbollah infrastructure, cameras, ammunition, hiding posts, tunnels underneath the houses. Gaza, higher percentages. Judea and Samaria, there were refugee camps that the IDF cleared in this war that had almost 100% of the homes in a refugee camp containing weapons, some of them containing in the mosques and in the schools, both factories and training facilities for terrorism. This is what we're fighting against. And in that circumstance, that is impossible for anyone who's ever held a gun in their hand. In those circumstances, Israel does the utmost effort not to hurt the innocent. In those circumstances, and people like to throw out these ratios. We only kill so many civilians compared to combatants. I don't think that's the right conversation. We try not to kill any civilians and any innocent, and our enemy does everything they can to put the innocent in front of our guns and cause us to harm them. They're the villains. They're the evil. We're not on the same moral playing field at all. And international media, and I'm going to end on this because we're going over time, the Tucker Carlsons of the world and others, they're trying to equate Israel and our enemies. When they make allegations about sexual assault against Palestinians, they're trying to equate us with Hamas. When they make allegations about Israel intentionally harming innocents, they're trying to equate us with Hamas terrorists that killed and did horrific things to children on the 7th of October and afterwards. We're not the same. We work a different God that is a righteous and virtuous God, and we are a righteous and virtuous people who make mistakes, but overall try to do the right thing. They are not like us. They are evil and they are morally corrupted, and they need to be uprooted so that people get something else.
Okay. Thank you. Thank you.